Let's do some practice on arrays and for loops. In the new project that we'll create, we will make a function which will look at the max and minimum number of an array. So go to File and create a new project, and I'll call this project as min max and click Finish, and for the module I'll say don't create. Now if you have already opened this hello world, what you can do is simply right click on it and say close project rather than open project, so this project will be closed. Now inside this min max, under the source, I will create a new Java class called min max, and I'll also tick this box so we can create a main method. And in this file we will create two functions. The first function will figure out the maximum number in the array, and the second function will figure out the minimum number in the array. So to start with, on line number 6, I will create an array of integers called numbers, and I will assign some random values. So let's say those values are 4, 8, 1, 6, 4 and 3. Now we have to figure out the minimum and maximum number within this numbers array. So on line number 9, I will create a new function, and I'll start with public, then static, then void, and I'll name my function max number, and I'll have parentheses and then curly brackets. Now because we have to figure out the maximum and minimum number from this numbers array, I have to pass this numbers array as parameter to my max number. So in the function definition, inside the parameters, so I will have int, then the array, and then I can, let's say, name my array as numbers again. Now because we have passed this numbers as a parameter, we can use it. And the way this function will work is that we have to loop through each of these numbers one by one, and then we have to keep track of the maximum number. And to keep track of the maximum number, I will create an int variable called max number. And how about I assign it to this value 4? Because imagine that once we start our loop, we will say that okay, the first number, which is in this case 4, will be our maximum number for now. So to put 4 inside my max number, I can use again this array here. So I'll say number, and do you remember how to assign this 4 to max number? We have to use indexes. So I'll use this brackets, and if I want to get the first number, that's index is 0, and then at the end I'll have semicolon. So this will assign 4 to max number. Now what we have to do is we have to loop through this array. And to do loops, we will use for loop, and then we'll have these brackets, and then we'll have the body of it. Now inside the for loop we have 3 statements. The first is initialization statement, so I will create a new variable of type int and call it index, and I'll start by 1. And the reason I'll start by 1 is because the index 0 is already assigned to this max number. So I'll start by 1, and how long I have to go through? I have to go through the number of items in this array. In this case I have 6 items. So I'll say index is less than 6. Now even though 6 here is fine, but this 6 won't work if, let's say, I have more numbers here like this. So the best way to do is we can say numbers dot, and then we have this method called length. So this will go through all of these items one by one. And then finally we have to increment our index. So I'll say index plus plus. So this will go through each and every item one by one. Now inside this for loop, we have to check that our max number is basically greater than whatever the next number is. If our max number is greater, then it's fine. But if our max number is less, then we have to assign the new max to our max number. So it means that I have to write an if condition, and inside this if condition I'll say that if my max number is less than my next number, which would come from this numbers array, and the next item would basically come from my index, because in the first loop my index would be 1, then in my second loop the index would be 2, so we will keep on comparing here. Now if my max number is greater than the next number, then it's fine, but if my max number is less than the next number, then we will run this if condition, and in this if condition we'll say that assign my max number to whatever the greatest number was. In this case it was again this numbers index. So here we are basically saying that if my max number is less than whatever the next number would be, assign that next number to my max number. And once we finish this for loop, we will actually have our max number inside this variable. And now I can simply print this. So I'll type system.out.println, and inside it I can write max number. Now in the main method we have to call this max number. So to call it, I'll go to line number 8 and I'll type max number, and inside it I will pass this numbers array. And now let's run this program. So once we run this program, you can see that the max number in this array was 8, so 8 got printed. If let's say the max number was 14, and now if I run this code, you can see 14 is printed. So we have created a function which figures out the maximum number inside the array. Perfect.